the spinal cord, because the spinal cord is a continuation of the brainstem or vice versa. The brainstem is a part of the brain which contains three parts. Conventionally, it is not containing cerebellum, even if cerebellum is a part of developing brainstem. But in the own sense of the word brainstem, it contains medulla oblongata, oblongate, then pons Varoli, and the last one is mesencephalon. Those structures are very connected together with the white matter and also from the development, and we will see how they are arranged here, some nuclei, and about those nuclei we will have one lecture when we will have a lecture about the cranial nerves, because it is related to their functions. So this is a brainstem. Brainstem has connections upwards and downwards with the diencephalon and telencephalon, and also the communication with cerebellum. The last direction of communication is with spinal cord. Some structures of a spinal cord are then followed to the structures of a brainstem. Especially there are some tracts of a white matter, but also we will see that some nuclei of some cranial nerves, especially the 11th and then the 5th nerve, they have a part of their nuclei also in a upper spinal cord in segments about C1, C2, C3. So, in a Czech, brainstem is called mozkový kmen. It means the same. And also in Latin, it is truncus cerebri. When we look at those pictures, we can see very important landmarks of this brainstem. This is a AP view, this is a PA view, so antero-posterior and posterior-anterior, and this is lateral-lateral. What we can see here? Here is a disappearing cerebellum, here is a cutting surface where was cutted cerebellar coverage of this space, and also here we have those cutting surfaces. When we have to describe the structures, which we can see from the anterior view, we can define very well this main structure, which is prominent on the anterior aspect. This is pons Varoli, is mainly made from white matter, and you can see that here are some structures showing the orientation of fibers. Those fibers mainly are going lateral-lateral, but also is containing other tracts which could be see here, and they are going this way. So this is a pons. Pons is very easy to see on the brainstem, and this surface, anterior surface, is facing the skull base at the part which is called clavus. The other landmarks could be seen here. This is a landmark which is nicely seen here. This structure, this web, in simplified drawing, it's like a St. Andrew's cross, and this is a crossing part of a corticospinal tract. And this is a landmark where we can see the lower part of the cerebrum, brainstem. The following part then is a spinal cord. So this is a landmark of a medulla oblongata, oblongate. So here is a pons, and here this fissure is defining the space which is upper, and here is a mesencephalon. Mesencephalon is a very special part of brainstem which is associated with upper centers, with centers which are localized in the diencephalon, and also there are centers or gray matter which is very important for integration of acoustic and visual information. So very important structures of auditory and visual pathways. So those are landmarks. When we look for those yellow structures, brainstem is a site of the origin of 12 cranial nerves. So what we can see here? We can see here the most prominent, the most thick structure, which is a trigeminus. Trigeminus is only one cranial nerve which is arising from pons, directly from pons, and then we have here in the upper part the region where are arising the oculomotor nerves, oculomotor and trochlearis. The other are in the fissure between pons and medulla oblongata. And then we have a very important part which is called lateral mixed system, which contains nerves which are 11, 12, and here 9, 10. So those nerves are arising mainly from the highest number from the oblongate. So the posterior aspect, I have said that the cerebellum is cutted here, and when we cut off the cerebellum, we see the space which has rhomboid shape, and this rhomboid shape is a name of rhomboid fossa. Rhomboid fossa is a part of intracerebral fluid spaces. It's a fourth, in fact, it's a fourth ventricle. Fourth ventricle, and the rhomboid fossa is the bottom or floor of it. And here we can see the structures which are seen here. They are called cerebral pedunculi, so footlets of the cerebellum. When we look at this structure, which is very interesting because this is in reality the original neural plate, when you will have embryology of a neural tube, neural system in quadrupeds or vertebrates is developing like a tube originally from a plate, and the plate is rolling, and it is rolling in almost all extent of a central nervous system except this part. Here is not rolled. We can see here midline, which is splitting the system in two arranged lines of, or two systems of lines of nuclei, which are containing special functions. This is a sulcus medianus, median sulcus, and here this is a sulcus limitans. Sulcus limitans is a groove which is splitting two parts. Medially it is a basal plane or basal plate, and here is alar, so like a wing, and this wing is rolling and fusing, and here we have an alar here and basal dorsally, because a lower part of oblongate is then rolled, and also is rolled the spinal cord, but rhomboid fossa is opened. So this is rhomboid fossa. From a dorsal aspect, we can see other structures which are interesting and important. And here we have a rolled oblongate. On rolled oblongate, we can see here two important parts, which is a fascicle, which is called gracilis, and cuneatus. They are a space where are let the fibers of a sensitive system for tactile and conscious proprioception, and here are axons of a pseudo-unipolar neurons, and here are they relate in nuclei of those tracts. So this is a dorsal part and oblongate. The dorsal part of a mesencephalon, better is this. This is so-called lamina quadrigeminalis. We will talk about it. Or tectum. On tectal region, we can see very well four colliculi, four rounded structures, which are called colliculi. Inferior and superior, so pair of them. Remember that they, which are superior, are visual, part of visual system, and lower are auditory. It could be remember very well when you have a eye more cranial than ears, so then it's a visual is upper and the auditory is lower. So those are those structures which are important. So now we turn back to oblongate and terms which you will have to know. So fossa rhomboidea I have commented. Pedunculi also, two pedunculi. Here is a roof of a fourth ventricle, which is called velum medullare. Velum is really roof of a fourth ventricle. It is at the top. Then I have commented tenia cinerea, sulcus medianus, median sulcus, which is splitting the basal plate to two lateral parts, two right and left, and the second is sulcus limitans. So this is a sulcus medianus, and here is a sulcus limitans. Between them, there is eminentia mediana, which is hosting the motor nuclei of cranial nerves, so which are typically somatomotor, branchiomotor, and partially also visceromotor. So those motor things. So interesting is this lining, which is a perpendicular to the sulci, is called striae medullaris. And at the floor of the fourth ventricle, we can see structures which are above the nests of neurons, which are colliculus facialis for facial nerve, area vestibularis, and trigoni nervi, hypoglossii vagi. So they are arranged here about. So colliculus facialis, and here trigonum nervi hypoglossii, and here trigonum nervi vagi. So the last are tuberculum gracilis and fasciculi, tuberculum gracilis and cuneatum, which are localized here, and they are hosting nuclei gracilis and cuneati. So they are here. So this is a oblongate. Pons, Varoli, and structures. Pons Varoli is easy to describe because it has a large brachium. Brachium is the anterior part, and then we have a pedunculi. Pedunculi of a mesencephalon or cerebellum are 3, and those are parts of white matter communicating with the cerebellum. This is a pedunculum superior, pedunculus medius, and pedunculum inferior. And this is communicating with mesencephalon, this is with pons, and this with medulla oblongata. So those are white matters. For example, this way is going the information into and vice versa out from oblongate. So then the velum, the floor, the roof of a fourth ventricle is here, which is containing also in a middle line the frenulum, so the line which is in the midline. Then important is that mesencephalon dorsally forms those 4 colliculi. I have said that colliculi inferiores, they are associated with auditory, and colliculi superiores, they are associated with visual pathways. And then from those both structures we can observe those white matter structures which are communicating with this large structure which is called thalamus, which is not part of the brainstem, it's a part of diencephalon. And here the communications, white matter bands, are called brachium. Brachium colliculi inferioris and superioris, so brachia. They are communicating with the geniculate bodies, medial and lateral, and this is also visual and this is also auditory, but they are a part of diencephalon. But this mesencephalic part is very important because it is connected and here are relayed information from visual and auditory system, and they are integrated here with some motor information, and they are equipped with the relays to the spinal cord with the tectospinal tract. So I've said that we have some basal plate and alar plate. The arrangement of nuclei is the same way in every level, but somewhere it is a little bit shifted, and in the general, the roof is not developed in rhomboid fossa. And here we have a structure which is corresponding to the spinal cord in general. And this plate is then rolled, and you can see that there's this blue part, which is alar, and here is the basal. But at the level of the rhomboid fossa, this is an arrangement that we can observe here. 3 lines of motor, like here, somatomotor, branchiomotor. What is a somatomotor? Somatomotor is also something which could be called skeletal muscles, so stripped muscles, and those structures are corresponding to the motor innervation of head muscles. Somatomotor are which are moving with the eye, or eyeball. This is one, and the second is tongue muscles. So those are somatomotor. For branchiomotor, we know that we have muscles of mastication, or chewing muscle, and also the skin muscles, so mimic muscles. They are derived from innervation of branchia. Branchia are breathing organs of water animals. Yeah, for fish, sharks, and some larval parts of the life of the amphibia. In our body, they are typically the those which are moving with the mimics and those which are moving with chewing. And the last part is muscles which are associated with pharynx and larynx. Because you know that we have strip muscles in pharynx, but the movement of the pharynx is not easy to stop with your mind. It's a little bit more automatic than the chewing and mimic muscles, which are completely under control of your mind, of your consciousness. So, those are motor, which are moving with the stripped muscles. Then we have a line of nuclei, which are important for movement of a smooth muscle. Which smooth muscles we have at the region of the head? Those which are inside the eyeball, so those, and then also muscles which are associated with the salivary and lacrimary glands and the production of tears and saliva. So then those here, yellow one, are visceromotor. Visceromotor are associated with the nerves which are 3rd, 7th, 9th, and 10th. So those are which are innervating the muscles of the eyeball, so especially sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscle. And this is for 7, for 3, for 7 they are those salivary and lacrimal glands. 9th nerve also salivary gland, parotis, and then 10. Number 10 is a vagus, and vagus nerve here has nucleus, which is used for maintaining of the whole gastrointestinal tract and also the thoracic organs like bronchi, lungs, and heart, up to lienal flexure, so up to territory of middle of a superior mesenteric artery. So then we have other lines, and those are visceral sensory and special visceral sensory. So visceral sensory, it means that it is the information from viscera about the content, about the tension inside, about the pain. For example, if you have overfilled stomach, the information about the filling, or if you have a pain, this is led to this part of the brainstem. The special visceral sensory here is named taste. Taste is a chemical analysis of a content in the oral cavity or in a pharynx, and this is a special, but in general it is derived from these visceral sensations, only with some more specialized cells. Then we have, so those are visceral. So they are part of autonomous nerves. And then we have a general somatic sensory. What is general somatic sensory? You know that we have at the upper extremities, lower extremities, on the hand, we have a tactile and proprioception. Those tactile from the skin of the face is led to those centers, and the skin sensations are led by which nerve? It's by trigeminus. All three branches of trigeminus are able to lead this sensation. This is a mandibular nerve, maxillary nerve, and here ophthalmicus. This is a general somatic sensation. So proprioception and also the tactile sensations. And the last one, probably it could be for you non-logic. It's a special somatic sensory. This is a ear which is providing the information about balance and about the hearing the sound, so about the mechanic wavening going to you from outside. But they are derived general. You know that fish has a lateral line. Yeah, it's something like a skin analyzer. And also sharks, they have superficial electric analyzers. So this is derived from those skin parts, and then it is a general spatial somatic sensory, which is during the evolution more specialized for this telemetric informations from auditory signals. So then the arrangement of nuclei in the brainstem follows this original schematic arrangement, but you can see that is not completely in lines, but we can observe here, very important. So on the left part, they are motor. We have three kinds of a motor. I have said that we have something which is skeletal muscle. So then somatomotor. Somatomotor are oculomotor nerve, nucleus, then trochlear, then in a region of a pons, abducens, so sixth nerve, and then a long nucleus here, and this is a 12th nerve, and partially completely down it's 11 nerves, accessory. So those are the most medial line. Then we have a motor which are, I have said, branchiomotor. They are those. This is one nucleus. It's a motor nucleus of a trigeminus. So this is maintaining the chewing muscles, and it is a part of the branch which is called mandibular nerve. So this is a mandibular nerve branches which are equipped with motor, branchiomotor. The second, quite large, because we have many mimic muscles, is a facial, seventh. And the last one is called ambiguous. And this ambiguous is a very interesting and important, and it has three parts, and three nerves are derived from this. So it's a 10th, 9th, 10th, and 11th nerve. They have fibers which are then supplying those muscles which are localized in pharynx and larynx. Which part of the larynx is innervated by 11th nerve? It's something which is dubious or crazy, because those fibers originally are arising from a brainstem through the 11th nerve, and then in a jugular fossa and jugular foramen, those fibers then escaping from 11th nerve, and then it is emerging the 10 nerves, and finally they are back branching at the level of aorta or subclavian artery and arising like a recurrent laryngeal nerve. So then it's not bad when you say, yes, accessory nerve is innervating laryngeal muscles, even if we know that the laryngeal recurrent nerve is a branch of a 10th nerve. So this is something very similar like we have seen in a brachial and a lumbar plexus. So those fibers are partially divided and then associated with another nerve, and then again derived from this nerve. So this is a nucleus ambiguous. What's important for us is those which are part of autonomic system. Those are parasympathetic nuclei. The most important for clinical praxis is Edinger-Westphal and then dorsal motor nucleus, because they could maintain some important things which are seen on a patient or could cause very problematic situations. Edinger-Westphal nucleus is a nucleus which is supplying sphincter of pupilla, and then when this part of the brainstem is compressed and the function of this nucleus is impaired, then we can see dilatation, we can see mydriasis. So then when you have a patient after injury, for example, you can meet with the people injured during traffic accident, and you can see that someone is incautious and see dilated one pupilla, probably without any reaction to the light. This is a very, very dangerous situation that the patient has an overpressure in intracranial space, which is danger for the brainstem compression and the death of the patient. So this is. For sensitive, we have a very long, and you can see that the principal, those nuclei of a fifth nerve are distributed between mesencephalon and the spinal cord, and that then you can see here the summit organization of the sensoric fibers of a trigeminus. And then this is autonomic, mainly autonomic nucleus, which is called tractus solitarius, or nucleus tractus solitarii, which obtains gustatory informations and obtains the information about the tension and filling of the gastrointestinal tube. And then we have here, this space is for vestibular and cochlear nuclei. So, those are motor and sensoric nuclei. In brainstem, then we have very important two nuclei which are seen here, which are called gracilis and cuneatus. So in the middle, we have gracilis, laterally cuneatus. So here is upper extremities and here lower extremities. And here is a nucleus where is relayed the first neuron of a tactile pathway to the second neuron. And the second neuron then is relayed in a thalamus for the third neuron. Interesting is also this structure, which has this guirlandose gray matter, which is called olivary. This is inferior olivary nucleus. Olivary nuclei, they have a very important motor function for synchronization of automatic movements. For example, the fish, which is swimming and moving with the whole body to go in the front. Or when we go and when we changing the position of our extremities or quadrupods. This is olivary nucleus. So then, very important terms. You have to remember terms which are tectum and tegmentum. Tectum and tectal region. Tectum is dorsally and is localized only in mesencephalon. And the line of in mesencephalon is crossing this structure, which is aqueductus. We will have a lecture about the liquor spaces. It's a part of a inner tract of a cerebrospinal fluid. In a tectal region, we have a colliculus superior and inferior, or two pair of them. Tegmentum. Tegmentum is this pinky. This is tegmentum, and this is a tectum. In tegmentum, we have a tegmentum which is localized in mesencephalon more ventrally, but it forms the pons region and the dorsal part of oblongate. It contains in mesencephalon two important nuclei which are called nucleus ruber and substantia nigra. So red nucleus and black matter. So this is here in mesencephalon. Mesencephalon in two sections. This is in a colliculi inferior and here upper superior. The section through it is that here we have a tectum and here is a tegmentum. Yeah, here are gray matters of inferior colliculi and here superior colliculi. They are layered, in fact, and here we have aqueductus. So, in tegmentum, we have in the lower part of a mesencephalon large, and you can see band those are cross-sected bands which are mainly going upwards. This is crus cerebri, and here are descending tracts. What's it here? This is a part where we can observe those structures. Those structures are nucleus ruber and substantia nigra. Both are very, very important structures which are maintaining the motion. The red nucleus is associated with cortical gray matter, and then it's producing the band of white matter in lateral parts of a spinal cord, and this is a nucleus which is providing to us some automatic motions, but not too primitive, like changing position of your extremities. But when you are cycling or ride a bicycle, when you are stepping on the stairway, etc. So this is a red nucleus. So not completely voluntary, partially involuntary automatic motions, but which are learned. Substantia nigra has two layers. One layer is called compacta, and the second is reticularis. Compact part is producing very important substance which is called dopamine. Did you heard about dopaminergic system? Dopaminergic system is maintaining the function of basal ganglia, and basal ganglia are suppressing the supervision of a cortex to the stripped muscles, skeletal strip muscles, and with impairment of dopamine, it is occurring the disease which is called Parkinson. But simplified, or Parkinson-like syndromes. So dopaminergic system is a very important inhibitory system of a cortical activity, part of basal ganglia circle. So again, this is ruber and this is nigra. Brainstem and its function is also, reticular formation. Reticular formation is an important system which maintains important basic primitive reflexes. We have three lines, rapheal, medial, and lateral. It's not too important to know which cells are in which, but the impaired is a rapheal, and it is maintained by neurotransmitter called serotonin. Serotonin, probably you know, it's a hormone of happiness, but it's not only of happiness, it's a very important primitive substance which is also maintaining the functions of a gut. And here also, this is a rapheal system which has integrated system and polymorphic, very frequently unknown things. Then we have lines which are maintaining the main brainstem functions, and those functions which are on the level of basic body management are respiration center, pneumotactic, heart action regulator center, vasomotor, and vomiting. So you can imagine very, very primitive organism. Yeah, like a salamander, which has only those functions in most of actions. But we have them also. So what is respiration? This is a primary center which is guiding inspiration, expiration. The pneumotactic is then reflecting and taking information from sensoric information, visceral and somato, and also from the other organs about the CO2 and O2 concentration in the blood, and then it is increasing breathing or decreasing. You know that when a patient has a fever, has an increased number of breathing periods. Very close to it, everything is in this space. Very close is heart action circulation center. Because again, when you have decreased O2 concentration, you need probably to regulate heart. When you will run, you need to increase heart rate, increase frequency of a breathing. So then it is also in this localization. With the breathing and circulation, we have a third important thing, and it is blood pressure. And blood pressure could be maintained due to contraction or relaxation of smooth muscles in arterioles and meta-arterioles. And also, it's close to this. So those centers together are cooperating at this level of a reticular formation. And the last one center is a vomiting center. Vomiting center is also important because when you have some concentration of some substances or when you have an increased pressure in intracranial space, increased pressure of a liquor, then the patient is vomiting. Also when some substances which are analyzed in primitive centers in a floor of the fourth ventricle, some poison, some poisonous things from eaten food, etc. So it's a basic information about brainstem. The cerebellum. Cerebellum is a structure which is developing at the top of the brainstem and then growing and covering the fourth ventricle. We can divide two main parts, unpaired vermis and paired hemispheres. When you perform a section of it, so here you can see this white matter structure which is called arbor vitae, tree of life. The cerebellum contains gray matter which is on the cortical surface, like in telencephalon, and then we have also inside nuclei. And here is seen how the cerebellum has connections to the telencephalon, and here spinal cord, and here is cut it off the brainstem. So this is very important, that cerebellum is taking information from the whole organism and also is able to modify some important, sometimes primitive, sometimes very advanced actions. So, from morphology, we have a line which is called fissura horizontalis and fissura posterolateralis, posterolateral and horizontal fissure, which is dividing anterior and posterior lobe. Here, when we look from top to down, it's like a butterfly. This is a worm, vermis, and the wing, hemisphere. And here, small primitive thing, which is called flocculus, archaic part of the cerebellum. So those are. And here you can see folia cerebelli and small gyri and small sulci. Cerebellum is divided in 3 parts from development and 3 levels of functions we can observe also. The green one is called vestibulocerebellum or archaeocerebellum, more archaic part, which is related to the maintenance of a balance. Then it is associated and connected to vestibular nuclei and vestibular apparatus. This is this one. A little bit laterally we can observe, but except this nucleus, a part which is called paleocerebellum. Paleocerebellum contains connections with spinal cord, oblongate, pons, and mesencephalon, and this is very important center which is maintaining the tonus of muscles. So to have muscles ready for the action. The proper tension of muscle is needed to do something. And the last one, this pinky, is a neocerebellum or also corticocerebellum. Those are hemispheres, and it is very important because it is a coordination and measurement of emotions. In every step of emotion, microstep, this part of cerebellum is controlling what has been done and what was planned, and if the action is in relation to the plan, and then is changing other things. Again, communicating with spinocerebellum and archaeocerebellum, because it is relating and taking information from changes of balance. If you walk in, every step is under guidance and under control, under follow-up of a cerebellum. There are nuclei which are associated with them. Archaeocerebellum, primitive fastigi nucleus. 2 nuclei globosi on each side and nucleus emboliformis are associated with paleocerebellum. And then the last one is nucleus dentatus with somatotopic organization, which is relaying the information to the cortex and from the cortex. So, it was a brief review. When you, during examination, say this, I will be satisfied. Because it is a very, very, very hard thing. Hard to understand, hard to imagine it, because you have not too much knowledge to be associated with those informations. But I have tried to simplify it, but not on the primitive level. Simplify to help you to understand why we have a brainstem and how it's important. And then it's very, very important to know that all life-threatening situations could occur when the brainstem is impaired, during bleeding, ischemia, compression, during the impairment with the tumor infiltration, etc., etc. And also some toxic thing, especially when you will have a patient on ICU and he or she could have hyponatremia. You have to know that balance of electrolytes should be restored in a slow matter, because it could occur very severe impairment of a white matter in a pons, where is a crossing point of all information from top to down. So, thank you for attention, and excuse me to be too short, but the whole extent you will find in the recording from last period.